Remind people that we have learning tonight with dinner. Beginning 7:15 is when the learning is going to begin. You can come a few minutes earlier at 7 o'clock for some dinner this evening. Learning at 7:15. We have two different topics we're going to discuss tonight. One before Minchas 7:15 and another one that's going to be after Ma'ariv tonight. So plan your schedule. Allow yourselves to come learn, to bring Torah into your lives. I'm sure you have other things to do, other things to handle, so plan accordingly so you can join us for some beautiful Torah learning, and you can actually use your brain to connect to pure Torah thoughts. That's going to be this evening, beginning at 7 with dinner. 7:15 is when the learning begins. In Parsha Pinchas, the beginning of Pinchas tells us the concept of tzaror ha-Midyanim. Tzaror is not just simply a command, which means to harass the Midianite people, but is actually a continual harassment of the Midianite people. And the kisemosa means you're going to then smite them, you're going to then attack them. So there's an element over here within the concept of tzaror. Tzaror could be from tzor, which is that of a rock, but you're supposed to harass these people because of what they did to you. Al davar peor. What is it that they did to you? So the Orach Chaim presents a concept over here that under the leadership of Midian, what their ultimate goal was not just simply for avodah zarah, but that was their main goal. They had a two-pronged attack. One attack was that for promiscuity, for lust, to get the Jewish people to be in a place where their desires are simply for immoral pleasures, and that would lead them to the worship of peor. For those that are not familiar with the worship of peor, the worship of Baal peor was an idol where you had to defecate yourself in front of that idol. This was the famous one that most of us are thinking, I don't understand why, but maybe perhaps this is why people would refer to your laboratory as the throne. But the concept of Baal peor is the concept where a person defecates in front of this idol. What is the concept over here of defecation? Why would anyone think that this is a proper form of idol worship? So just to present an idea, the whole concept of why the human being has to have this function in their life, obviously, is to remove waste from them. Prior to the eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, so everything was pure. Once they ate from it, now evil and good became intermixed one with another. When it came down to the eating of the man was something that was so spiritual. They didn't have to go to the bathroom because of the fact that it was so spiritual. There was no negativity within it. It was only something positive, only something holy. Therefore, they didn't have to use the facility as well while eating of the man because it was something entirely pure, which means anything else that's not entirely pure requires one to release the waste from it. And this comes from the sin of the eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Come down to now peor. When you get to peor's entire worship is that of waste itself, which means there's nothing holy within it of itself. It's something that only relates to the waste matter that exists within the human being. So there is a concept here that what it's teaching us about the avodah zarah, it's something that's entirely purely evil. It represents, in the spiritual sense, that which is totally evil. There's no good associated with it at all, and therefore getting the Jews to use their quote-unquote waste, which means the negative side, the things that are not good for their neshama, using that entirely for the sake of worship, that is obviously considered a grave and terrible sin. So here, the Orach Chaim does explain the concept that the whole idea of attacking them is because of the fact that they're getting them to do something which is so heinous, which is the physical pleasures of immoral lust. That is something that we have to always fight against throughout our regular lives, and that leads a person to recognize that next level, which is that of pure waste, was used for the sake of avodah zarah. Something which we would consider to be negative is now something that they're using for their positivity, for their idol worship. That is why it seems to be that they have to fight against this so much against the people of Midian. Rabbi Nachi Klein